Across Tehran, new state-approved banners now loom over major roads, warning that Iran is prepared to launch fresh strikes on Israel and U.S. interests even as anti-government protests rage through the country. These threatening displays appeared just as U.S. President Donald Trump publicly backed Iranians marching against the regime, tying the street unrest to a sharpening war of words between Washington and Tehran. Authorities have hung large posters across the capital explicitly warning of further attacks on Israeli territory and on the U.S. Al-Udeid Airbase in Qatar, signaling that Iran sees both as legitimate future targets. State media outlets proudly broadcast images of these banners, which show maps and marked impact sites from the recent 12-day war with Israel, turning past missile strikes into visual threats of what could come next. Above each highlighted location, including Israel's Nevatim airbase, the stark slogan "It will happen again" is printed as a direct promise that similar missile salvos can be repeated at a time of Tehran's choosing. Other panels showcase the June attacks on Haifa's coastal oil refinery and power plant, using the burning industrial sites as proof of Iran's reach into Israel's critical infrastructure. Qatar's Al-Udeid airbase, the biggest U.S. military hub in the region, is prominently shown as another site already struck, underlining that American forces themselves are within range of Iranian missiles. Iranian commanders insist the June barrage used only a small fraction of their missile arsenal, portraying those attacks as a limited demonstration rather than the full extent of their wartime capability. Officials now warn that any future retaliation for Israeli or U.S. moves could be far broader and more devastating, suggesting larger salvos and a wider target list than seen in the summer conflict. Donald Trump has warned that the United States will step in if Iran's rulers violently kill peaceful protesters, casting Washington as a potential protector of demonstrators facing a crackdown. He declared that America is locked and loaded and ready to go, using unmistakably militarized language to suggest real force could follow if Tehran unleashes lethal violence on the streets. The protests themselves have erupted nationwide over soaring prices, a collapsing currency, and deep economic hardship, with demonstrators increasingly directing their anger at the entire ruling system. These new banners surfaced only days after Trump signaled support for possible Israeli military action on Iranian territory, intertwining domestic unrest with the threat of external strikes. Trump has said he would back Israeli attacks if Iran pushes ahead with its ballistic missile work or nuclear program, framing renewed Israeli bombing as a justified response to any further escalation. He has also warned Tehran not to rebuild the military and nuclear facilities destroyed in June's Israeli and U.S. airstrikes, implying that reconstruction could invite yet another wave of attacks. Between April and May 2025, the United States and Iran held 5 rounds of intensive nuclear negotiations, marking the most sustained diplomatic engagement between the two sides in years. When that deadline expired without agreement on Day 61, June 13, Israel answered with a surprise offensive, opening a new front in its long-running confrontation with the Islamic Republic. On June 22, the United States joined in, striking Iran's nuclear facilities at Isfahan, Natanz and Fordow under the operation codenamed Midnight Hammer, using bombers and cruise missiles to hit hardened targets. Those attacks killed several nuclear scientists and, according to official tallies, hundreds of soldiers and civilians, making the operation one of the deadliest blows to Iran's program and security forces. Iran's retaliatory salvos killed 32 Israeli civilians and an off-duty soldier, underscoring that Israeli population centers were also exposed during the short but intense war. As part of that response, Iran launched around 14 short and medium-range ballistic missiles at the Al-Udeid base in Qatar, directly targeting the heart of U.S. air operations in the region. U.S. officials later said their air defenses intercepted 13 of those incoming missiles while one fell short, allowing Washington to claim it had thwarted the strike without suffering casualties on the base.